Hello everyone, Trainlover16 here once again, and welcome to the third episode of my VHS review series. The series where I take VHSs, I watch them with you guys, give my thoughts and comments on them, and then at the end I tell you whether or not they're worth buying. So in this episode it's a bit of a strange one, but I'm going to review it anyway. So the VHS we'll be reviewing today is this. This is a documentary of the East Coast, about the East Coast Main Line, and it's a study of it from King's Cross to Peterborough. So yeah, so here's the front cover. We've got a picture of the steam trains at King's Cross. There's the spine, here's the back of it, and this is volume 1. Okay, you've got all of this. And it's released by Transport Video Publishing. And it has a running time of approximately 55 minutes. So, sit back, relax, go and get yourself some snacks and a drink, perhaps. Because this video is going to be about an hour long, as usual, with my VHS reviews. So, let's go right ahead and open this thing up. Okay, so here's the tape. We got just blank things on the... It's just black on the inside, except for this logo here. Can't quite read what that says. But anyway, here's the tape. Transport Video Publishing, East Coast Main Line Volume 1. Here's the back of the tape. And now I will go right ahead. I'll turn my TV on. And then I'll pop the tape straight into my VHS player. Excellent. Now I'll fasten my camera on... Oh, sorry about that. Okay, here goes. Now I'll just screw this onto here. Oh, here we are, it's already started. And now I'll fasten it down here, and the tape's already started, so here it goes. So here we go. Straight into it. Right, so we open at King's Cross Station. We got the Class 317s and the HSTs there. This was more than 30 years ago. Times have changed a lot since this tape was released. I believe it was released in either 1989 or 1990.
All of the main lines leading away from London undoubtedly had their line-side devotees, and no doubt they all considered their main line
we got
to
the
be the best.
Intercity 225s. I love the Intercity 225s. They're some of my favourite trains.
The East Coast main
It's a real shame that they're all going to be
always knew
withdrawn
that
in
their
summer of
main
this
line
year.
was far and away the best of all the routes emanating from the capital.
Yes, I totally agree with that.
In many respects,
it is the best.
The East Coast Main Line did indeed stand apart from the other mainline routes.
Yes, it did.
Speed was the hallmark of this uniqueness. Sir
the
Nigel's
A4s.
streamlined masterpieces, the A4s,
Of course.
captured the imagination of the travelling public in the 1930s. But the grey years of World War II decimated the railway system of the 1930s, and nationalisation in 1948 was inevitable.
Of course it was. But it wasn't a good idea.
The eastern region superseded the southern end of the old LNER's network, and by 1949 the Great Northern authorities imaginatively created a non-stop train between King's Cross and Edinburgh, titled The Capitals United, which was booked to run non-stop over the 394 miles, just as the Flying Scotsman had done in the years leading up to World War II.
Yeah. Oh, those are lists of all the expresses that
In
ran out of
Coronation Year, 1953,
that ran out of King's Cross
United
back in the
title was
day.
dropped in favour of the Elizabethan, and this flag bearer for high-speed traction bore the flag for all the other fast schedules, among such famous named trains as the Northumbrian, the West Riding, the Tees Tyne Pullman, the Talisman, and the Yorkshire Pullman. To To see these famous trains pulling smartly out of King's Cross, or surging through the North London suburbs and up the 1 in 200 gradient of the Northern Heights to Potter's Bar, was eternal magic to the enthusiasts standing strategically by the line side.
I'm sure it was. And it still is for train enthusiasts today. I do a bit of railway filming from time to time.
In this,
Isn't that amazing? Isn't that incredible?
Recreate the very special character of this main line in the days of steam.
The East Coast Main Line. King's Cross. That shoots a bit bowing and turn it down.
King's Cross faces onto the junction of Euston Road and Pentonville Road and is bordered on its east side by York Way.
Interesting.
The streets and buildings.
Oh, we've got the Route Master buses. A shame most of them are gone now. They were even still being used in the late 1980s.
Free from high-rise buildings. However, traffic has changed dramatically over the past 30 years.
Oh yes, Euston
Today's
Road.
streets are clogged with traffic levels that have increased many times over since the 1950s.
Oh yeah, traffic problem in London even today is quite bad. In fact, traffic problems all over the world. Traffic is still a problem all over the world.
Three decades ago, the surroundings presented a very different picture. We're travelling along the roads just to the east of the tunnels. The date, the 15th of April, 1957. In understanding the railways of the 1950s, we must appreciate the overall transport scene of the period. The road network had changed little since the 1930s, while private cars were still largely outnumbered by public and commercial vehicles.
Nice.
With the number of road vehicles barely a tenth of today's number.
Oh yes, trolley buses. Oh yeah, trolley buses were very prominent in London in the 50s. Shame all of London's trams and trolley buses have been replaced since. But at least we still have the Croydon trams, the trams down in Croydon. But it's a shame that the trolley buses are completely gone now.
The terminus carried two-way traffic, while many were still cobbled. The mass movement of people and goods by road was still a few years away, while air travel was restricted to the wealthy few.
Yeah, times have changed a lot since the late 50s, and even since the 1980s when this was released.
It's hardly surprising that the railways were still the dominant carrier of long-distance passenger traffic.
Of course
and
they
King's
were.
Cross stood as the gateway to the northeast of England and Scotland.
And it still is today. This was obviously before the brand new concourse at King's Cross was built, which is still pretty good to this day.
And the cramped concourse was hard pushed to cope with the crowds.
And King's Cross Station, I'll say this now, King's Cross Station remains to this day my favourite of London's railway stations. Yeah, it's my favourite of London's railway stations to this day. I've gotten trains out of King's Cross many times in the past. I like King's Cross not only for its historical significance, but also for its design and even the modern concourse that's there today.
In 1852, the twin train sheds of King's Cross Station are 800 feet in length and rise 71 feet above the ground level of London North 1. costing the Great Northern Railway around £123,000 to build.
That was a lot of money back in the day. £123,000 would be so much more in this day and age.
During the years leading up to nationalisation. And in 1952, at its centenary celebrations, this famous facade was given a good clean and brush up, the effect of which can still be seen in these 1957 scenes.
But see those buildings just by King's Cross? Eventually those would be demolished to make way for the new concourse that's really modern but still manages to retain the northeastern feel, the feel of the Great Northern Railway.
In front of the facade to block the view. By walking behind this motley collection of buildings, one came across the concourse, narrow by any standards, but granting the enthusiast throughout the 1950s a true steam scene, as it had been for numerous decades past. The platforms have developed piecemeal as patronage.
Oh, that's a pretty good diagram actually.
Platforms 1 to 10, with numbers 3 and 9 having been eliminated during reconstruction in LNER days.
Oh, see those platforms way up there? I think those platforms are gone now, and now only platforms 1 to 12 exist. But I think platform 1 was renumbered to platform 0. I don't know why platform 0 is a thing in this country. It's not only present at King's Cross, it's also present at Doncaster, you know. But platform 0 to this day still remains as platform 0, and platform 12 is now platform 11. Interesting.
Taxis ran into the station on its west side to pick up.
Okay.
They would leave by turning out across the station forecourt to cut across the flow of traffic along Pentonville Road and Euston Road. The booking office and inquiry office were situated alongside platform 10.
That actually looks like a pretty nice booking office. Oh, Pullman trains. Oh, I didn't realise Pullman trains went out of King's Cross. Oh, the Pullman coaches are really great though. Oh, this is what it's like today. Well, in the 1980s rather. W.H. Smith.
The clutter of buildings in front of the station has been swept away and replaced by a new and extended concourse.
And that concourse would be updated again.
The services serving the station have seen dramatic change. We're
Oh,
now 2 generations of motive power removed from the age of steam, with electrification now well established and soon to take over all services.
Well, HSTs will continue to serve this line
In this next section,
until
the trains serving the terminus over 30 years ago. The 91s are the successors to the Pacifics of the age of steam.
Oh yes.
HSTs from the diesel era.
Oh yes. As I said, the 91s are the class 91s, aka the 225s, are so great. I love these trains. They're just as great. I think these trains are just as great as the A3s and A4s.
In 1957, the mainline scene was dominated by
But all of this is outdated nowadays. Oh, and the A1 peppercorns as well, and A2s.
Every train
and the
departing had to have
HSTs
its empty stock
continue
worked
to
in
run
by
until
or an
this year actually.
Every train
But the
departing
91s
Terminus
will
had to
remain
have
in
its
service
coaches
until
worked out,
summer. I'm
tagged,
so sad that they're getting withdrawn, the 91s, because I love them so much. And I've been on them quite a few times in the past. I've been to York, Newcastle and Edinburgh out of King's Cross. And I've even been all the way up to Fort William on the Caledonian Sleeper from it. Usually the Caledonian Sleeper leaves from Euston, but on the day I went up there on the Caledonian Sleeper, it was leaving from King's Cross due to maintenance works, which was okay. I still got my trip on a sleeper train for the very first time.
Inner and outer suburban trains were also steam-hauled until the late 1950s. These L1s and N2s were soon to be replaced by a mix of DMUs and new Type 2s from the Birmingham Carriage and Wagon Company.
And then they would be replaced by the Class 317s. And then those trains would be replaced by the 717s and the 387s.
Overseeing a multitude of conflicting movements. For a brief period, there was a car carrier at the end of platforms 18 and 19.
Oh, that's something I didn't actually know. Just like the Eurotunnel trains. Very interesting.
This freight has emerged from the Metropolitan lines running from Moorgate. These ran through platform 16.
Oh, okay.
Trains bound for Moorgate and the Metropolitan lines left from York Way platform, and this tunnel was known as the
This is something I didn't know. I didn't know that there were tunnels leading down into Moorgate Station. Okay, I knew about the Northern City line from Moorgate up to Finsbury Park, and then onward through the regional areas. But I didn't know that there were tunnels leading down from the actual King's Cross mainline station down into those tunnels. I had no idea of that until now. Ah, these are the underground stations. Steam was still being used on the underground. In fact, I believe steam was still used on the underground right up until 1963, I believe. And then 5 years later, steam was withdrawn from the main lines.
Moorgate lay in a part of London ravaged during the Blitz, and the station stood amid a wasteland of ruined buildings.
Oh, that's a shame. I swear Moorgate Station is completely covered over now, and that it's fully underground now. Because this does look... I have been to the actual Moorgate Station, the subsurface platforms, and this does actually look like how it did back... And this does actually resemble how it looked, except it's covered overhead. So this must have been covered over... So this Moorgate Station must have been covered over... Because Moorgate is in the centre of London, isn't it? So I can see why they built this line down there. But then as the London Underground improved, it must not have become necessary.
As they were called, used the steep Snow Hill incline from Farringdon up to Holborn Viaduct and Blackfriars.
Holborn Viaduct Station no longer exists, just so you know. And then eventually the Thameslink route would be built underneath, that would run from Blackfriars underneath to City Thameslink, Farringdon, then King's Cross, and then it would go on to Kentish Town and West Ham. Hold on. Yeah, West Hampstead, and then on to the Midland Main Line. And it would also run services south to Brighton. But that wasn't until 1990, 1 year after this VHS was released. Oh, this is what it was like in 1989. But nowadays, there's actually a tunnel
is blessed
that...
with arguably one of the most difficult approaches to any mainline terminus.
Those are gasworks. That's Gasworks Tunnel there.
The station fronts onto the Euston Road, just as the Great Northern Railway intended 150 years ago. From here, the lines thread their way across a maze of trackwork, dropping for a short distance in Gasworks Tunnel before the hard slog of the 1 in 107 gradient of Holloway Bank starts. It was these cramped approaches which provided a unique world of steam and smoke.
So nowadays, there's a tunnel literally just beside Gasworks Tunnel that leads down into the St Pancras station on the Thameslink line, which allows Thameslink trains to run from Brighton all the way up to Peterborough and even King's Lynn.
Between Gasworks and Copenhagen tunnels, trains would enter a complex of lines from which...
See where King's Cross Top Shed and the goods yards are? That's where the entrance to those tunnels down into the St Pancras Thameslink station is now.
Heading north to Copenhagen Tunnel on the main line, the driver of this A3 sees the retaining wall holding up the higher level of King's Cross goods yard to his left. Copenhagen signal box.
Yeah, all those goods yards and sheds no longer exist. And on their side is the entrance down into the tunnels, as I already explained.
High above all this trackwork, on a brick viaduct, is the railway carrying the North London line across the two levels of trackwork. This A2 is backing across from Copenhagen Tunnel to the holding track by Belle Isle signal box, and will soon drop into Gasworks Tunnel.
Yep, and then it'll couple up to its train and head on off.
At the north end of Copenhagen Tunnel, an N2 scuttles across the flyover to gain access to King's Cross Freight Depot or Top Shed. Another N2 emerges from the north end of Copenhagen Tunnel. A BR-built forerunner of the 08s heads for King's Cross Freight Depot over the flyover.
Oh yeah, the 08's diesel locomotives were originally built as shunters, but then they expanded to the main line. So yeah, diesel shunter heading over there. Weaselly diesel shunter. I don't know why I said that.
At King's Cross Station, viewed from high above the tunnel mouth, an N2 dives into the gloom of Gasworks Tunnel.
Oh dear.
This carried line under the Regent's Canal in all its underutilised tranquility, and accounts for Gasworks Tunnel having such a pronounced dip in its alignment.
Oh, there's the canal line.
The general lack of space between Gasworks and Copenhagen tunnels was compounded by the need for the line to connect with the goods depot and locomotive shed. A B1 comes off Top Shed, past Goods and Mineral Junction signal box.
I love the variety of locomotives the RNER has. That's partly why the RNER is my favourite of the big four companies. But also because they have the nicest of the terminuses, in my opinion.
Plans for the simplification of the suburban trains layout were made in 1957 when a new flyover was to have increased line capacity. But the scheme never came to
Oh
fruition.
yeah, and eventually eventually there'd be a new line alongside the North London line, which would eventually become HS1, that carries the Eurostars and the Javelin trains onto HS1.
However, a reshaping of the approach lines was to wait for 20 years, and electrification.
Oh yes. I do. The Intercity 125s will definitely be preserved, but I also hope the class
The
class
closed in the 1930s.
225s will also be
This was
preserved.
the site of one of London's busiest freight handling depots, serving the East Coast Main Line and dispatching many hundreds of wagons each day.
And I believe that site is where the entrance to the Thameslink tunnels down into the St Pancras Thameslink station is now.
The depot was situated on the west side of the line between York Way and the Midland Main Line into St Pancras. Looking around this derelict and spacious site, it's difficult to believe that this depot was once overcrowded in the extreme and posed severe operating problems. From these yards, several high-speed Class C fully braked freight trains were dispatched each weekday, and incoming freights had their wagons segregated into different sections depending on their cargoes.
Okay.
It was from here that every afternoon the famous Scotch goods was dispatched at 3:05 p.m.
Oh. Oof. Oh, that looks quite nice.
In the covered areas, wagons were drawn by capstan and positioned by small turntables, operated by an abundance of manpower.
Wagon turntables. Turntables specially built for wagons. Rah. I don't know why I just made that noise. Are pulling it along with the ropes, which were used with the cable railways up in the north. And now it's going to have their goods unloaded. Oh, it's getting a bit pixely and grainy now. I might have to clean it in a second. I cleaned it, as this is such an old tape, I cleaned it. Oh, see that hot, oh god, where's the thing? Where's the VHS remote? Sorry guys, I'm just gonna cut the camera for a moment. Okay guys, sorry about that. I did give my VHS player's head a good cleaning before I started recording this, but because it did get a bit pixely and grainy before when I watched this earlier for a little bit, so I thought I'd give it a good cleaning just to be sure. But looks like that hasn't worked, and it did get a little bit grainy around this point. So we'll just have to continue on and hope for the best. Okay, so you see they're unloading those wagons.
Right in the middle of the good depot's freight yards was situated King's Cross Motive Power Depot. This occupied as cramped and awkward a position as could be imagined.
Oh dear.
The depot boasted a
King's
huge
Cross
coaling
cop
plant
shed.
and a 70-foot
Interesting.
turntable, while the main offices and erecting shed backed onto the Midland main line from
Erecting
St
shed.
Pancras.
And what does that make you
The
guys
erecting
think
shop
anything?
was once used by the Great Northern for heavy repairs, although by the 1950s it had been reduced to handling only minor ones.
I see we've got all the engines down there. Nice range of engines, as I said. This is partly why the King's Cross is my favourite London mainline station, and also because I also like the large range of engines. That's a reason why the Big Four is my favourite of the Big Four companies, as I already said. The LNER, sorry. Don't know what I'm saying now.
In 1950,
Ah,
the
interesting.
depot had an allocation
Oh, the
of
sound's going a bit
25
funny
diesel
now.
and 23 diesel locomotives, ranging from the top link duties through to the suburban N2s and L1s.
And 23 diesel shuttles as
These
well.
scenes were taken in and around
Class
the
08.
main run shed.
Oh, that's how you clean out an A4. So you have to open up its streamlined door at first before you can access its actual smoke box door. Because underneath an A4 streamlined casing is really just an A3 locomotive. But the streamlining is what enabled it to go faster than an A3. So Nigel Gresley really was a genius when he designed the A3s and A4s. And Arthur Peppercorn as well, to be fair. Because his A1s and A2s also look great. Oh look, there's an A3 with German smoke deflectors. And an old style tender. And there's an A1. Through the London suburbs. Oh, very, very nice seeing that. An express train, LNER express train departing into King's Cross Town. Oh look, there's all the suburban stations out of King's Cross. From Finsbury Park right up to Brookman's Park.
This route bears little resemblance to the line of 30 years ago. Signalling and a vastly improved track.
Oh, that is such a nice shot. I really like it. And I bet it resembles even less to how it looked in the 50s nowadays. That is such a nice shot. That's why I like the Class 225 so much.
And extending over a mile north to Potter's Bar.
And then up to Brookman's Park. See, look, there's all the tunnels on the suburban lines. Not including the tunnels out of King's Cross.
In 1957, only 2 running lines existed here, and Greenwood Box just to the south of the station.
Well, that's something I did know, but then they built some new tunnels either side, just single bore
From
ones.
here, a double track section ran the 2.5 miles to Potter's Bar.
But then it was expanded to quadruple track later on when 2 more new tunnels were constructed. And you know, Potter's Bar Tunnel, the tunnel just south of Potter's Bar Station, is actually the longest on the entire East Coast Main Line at about 1,200 yards long. Which is something I find quite interesting.
This freight is approaching the box and will await a path between northbound expresses on the main line.
Oh yes, all freight trains had to give way for passenger trains. But you know, on the East Coast Main Line in the 1870s, there was a terrible accident where because there was snow, a slow coal train, and because the signals weren't properly designed back then, a slow coal train went past the signal without.
1953.
When it went past the signal, as it showed down, the snow had forced the arm down, and so the driver of the train thought it was clear, thought the signal was clear, so he proceeded back on to the main line. But then an express train coming south crashed into the coal train, and then another train coming up north to Leeds ploughed into the wreckage. 14 people were killed in that accident, mostly in the second collision. And it was this fatal crash which led to a change in design for signals. It led to the design of the semaphore signals we still see on heritage railways today.
Work has just started on the new tunnels, with drainage work.
Here we are, the two new single-bore tunnels.
A4 60034 Lord Farringdon passes with the 3:05 p.m. Scotch Express.
A goods train! A goods train! A goods train! The shame of it! Oh, the shame of it! That, I'm quoting Gordon from the Railway Series book, Edward and Gordon. If that A4 were alive and anthropomorphic, that would probably what it would be thinking right now. Oh, here's a commuter train coming up. That is such a good sound. If you don't think that sound is awesome, what is wrong with you? Then you obviously don't like steam trains. Because I think that sound is so awesome. And most train enthusiasts, and most if not all train enthusiasts will agree with me. Oh, the A4 whistles sounded so good. They sounded nothing like the A3s, A2s or A1s or any other LNER locomotive for that matter. The A4 whistles just sound so awesome. But, however, for some reason I prefer the A3s over the A4s. But the A4s are still my 8th favourite steam locomotive. But I do like the A3s better. Partly because of the Flying Scotsman. Ah, lovely Pullman coaches. Absolutely wonderful.
By late 1958, the tunnel had been bored through and work was well advanced. 9F92186 waits for a path with a northbound train of empty...
Oh, the 9Fs are my favourite locomotives of all time. Look, in fact they're my favourite trains of all time. Hence why my profile picture is of Evening Star, the last steam locomotive ever to be built, which is also a 9F. 9Fs are just so amazing. They've got 10 driving wheels. They're so awesome, the 9Fs. They're really big and awesome. Oh god, I think I might have to clean it again in a moment. Because it's going to get grainy again. I've got my remote here ready to pause it just in case.
A4 60028 Walter K. Wigham heads north. While a local N2 passenger heads towards the terminus.
Interesting. Oh, see, the tank engines can run backwards. The tender engines can't really run backwards, so they have to turn around. And that idea is served as the basis for the Thomas episode / Audrey story, Tenders and Turntables, which we watched together in my first review of the Thomas VHS we watched. Oh, that's a V2, you know. I like the V2s. They were essentially smaller versions of the A3s built, and the V2s were specifically built to pull goods trains.
The L1s were to last on suburban traffic.
Mostly fish trains from Scotland down to London.
DMUs and Type 2 diesels, which were later to become Class
Unfortunately, as much as I like the V2s, only one of them is preserved. Not Green Arrow, that one being Green Arrow, which was named after the Green Arrow fish train, the fish train that ran down to London from Aberdeen. And Green Arrow is out of service and on display at the Shilton Railway Museum. But I still like them. And you know, there was one of the V2s were actually reported to run at 100 miles an hour at one point. While the V2s were mostly used to pull freight trains, they were occasionally used on passenger services as well, and I expect this is where one of them was reported to have gone 100 miles an hour. Do you know, there's a lot of debate over whether City of Truro, the Great Western locomotive, or the Flying Scotsman were the first ones to hit 100 miles an hour. Official, the City of Truro record, as it didn't have a dynamometer car or paperwork records. So personally, I don't believe that City of Truro ever went 100 miles an hour. I do believe that Flying Scotsman was the first to hit 100 miles an hour. Because there was evidence for Flying Scotsman hitting 100 miles an hour. So I'm not taking the Great Western enthusiast's word that City of Truro did indeed hit 100 miles an hour, because I do think the Flying Scotsman was actually the first. And I'm not even 100% sure that V2 locomotive hit 100 miles an hour once. But Flying Scotsman definitely did do 100.
Each weekend during April saw extensive track remodelling, until by the 26th of April, both tracks had been laid through the new tunnel, and only the connections at either end remained. Colour light signalling was soon brought into use, and Greenwood Box could be removed to make way for the final track work.
Old signal box is getting demolished. It's sad, but it has to happen for modernisation. But at least we can still see all of this great old stuff in action on heritage railways today.
Initial work on the widening scheme had been started as long ago as 1954. Soon, the work was to be completed, providing 4 tracks over the East Coast route as far as Welwyn Viaduct.
Very nice. And that's how it looks like even today.
Had to compete with mainline expresses, and a regular interval off-peak service became possible.
Oh, for God's sake, I'm going to have to clean it again. Sorry guys, I'll have to clean it again. Please bear with me. See you in a second. Alright guys, I've just given it another good clean. Apologies for me having to stop it again. This is quite an old tape which hasn't been used in a while, so I have to keep doing it over and over again.
Off-peak service became possible.
See, look, and now it's electrified, and it still looks like that even today. Oh, I love the sound of the Paxman engines on the HSTs. It's a shame they're all getting replaced by the horrible Class 800s and 801s. Okay, to be fair, I haven't been on a Class 801 yet, so I really couldn't give my opinions on them. However, I have been on a Class 800 down to the West Country before, and let me tell you, they're not nice at all when compared to the HSTs. Which just proves that that sometimes the old is better than the new. However, the government and the rail and Network Rail don't seem to understand that, or the train operating companies for that matter.
steam
Or
was well into
some
its
members of the general public don't even understand that, for some stupid reason. And like I said, I'm not happy that the Class 225s are getting replaced as well. I was really hoping that they would hold out for at least a few more years, but no. The government, Network Rail and LNER want to replace them, which I think is stupid.
Suburban trains plied for trade hauled by N2s and L1s. And an old Great Northern Railway J6 could often be found shunting the large Vauxhall freight yard on the east side of the main line.
Very interesting.
This area is now occupied by a housing estate.
Ah, an LMS 8F, possibly on loan from the London Midland and Scottish Railway. It's very dirty.
A road along the west side of New Barnet Station provided a fine vantage point to watch the variety of East Coast mainline traffic.
I'm sure it was. It must have looked amazing back then, seeing all the steam trains coming past. Nothing like that nowadays, unfortunately. But at least we do get to see some steam trains on the main line, even today, with all the rail tours that happen. And even, most recently, you know the ground-up A1 locomotive, Tornado, you know that one? Yeah. But, well, if you didn't know, back in 2017, it ran services between Skipton and Appleby on the Settle and Carlisle line. All you had to do was buy a regular ticket. It was just a regular ticket, a regular National Rail ticket, and you can just hop on a steam train. Yeah, you didn't even have to drive to a Heritage Railway to go on a steam train. You could just proper mainline services, which the general public can ride on, and you don't have to pre-book. Isn't that incredible? Oh no, it might go again. Sorry guys, it might go again. Another A4 rushing through with a goods train. I bet if it was alive, like I said, it wouldn't like that at all, just like the big engines don't like goods trains. I guess when the Reverend W. Wardry saw these express locomotives pulling goods trains, he must have thought, okay, I've got to write a story about that, and it must be about an express engine who's pulling a goods train and doesn't like it, because I bet when he first saw it, steam trains, locomotives being pulled, steam engines pulling goods trains, express locomotives pulling goods trains, he must have thought, that doesn't look right at all. I bet if it was alive, it must have hated that. So both that and his past childhood experience of listening to the steam trains puffing up the hill past his window at night must have inspired him to write the story of Edward and Gordon. Quite nice. Oh, that is a nice sound, that.
The far end of Platform 10 at King's Cross was the place to be if you wanted to catch up on all the latest gossip and rumours of railway events and happenings. The 1950s provided an almost idyllic scene for the crowds of enthusiasts.
Excellent. There were enthusiasts a lot back in the day. Oh no, it really might go in a second. Lovely scene of the A3 departing there. Absolutely wonderful. Oh, and it's even pulling LNER teak coaches as well. something I really like. Now, when I went to the Severn Valley Railway back in 2017 for my birthday, I remember going in LNER coaches. They've got some there, and I thought they were really nice, the LNER coaches. Minoru. That's a funny name. And just like the V2 locos, only one LNER A3 is preserved to this day, which is the Flying Scotsman, Miles Beaver. But for some reason, 6 A4s have been preserved, while only one of each LNER engine has been preserved for most of the time. A total of 6 A4s have been preserved for some reason. I don't know why people seem to like A4s. Okay, it's definitely due to their streamlined shape and uniqueness, but I really wish more A3s had been preserved, and V2s for that matter, because they just look so good, and the Flying Scotsman needs to have some of its brothers being preserved as well. Really is a shame. I genuinely wish more LNER engines in general had been preserved. Lovely shots of A4s there. No, not A4s, A1s or A2s. They could be A2s.
The enthusiasts believe that King's Cross
B1
was, in the 1950s, far and away the best of the routes emanating from London.
Yep, and I agree with that, and I agree with them. It is the best of the routes emanating from London even today, despite the horrible new trains that are being introduced there. Oh, and that's what it's like today.
The exterior of King's Cross, like that of St Pancras, has changed little over the last 30 years.
Oh, but that would all change in 2011 with the introduction of the new concourse at King's Cross, which is very modern. It's got loads of things like Prezzo, and it's got Marks and Spencers. It's got everything there, everything you could want in a railway station concourse. And I really like the new concourse at King's Cross. And it is still relatively new even today. I'm glad the old concourse
may have survived, but the trains beneath it have changed beyond all recognition.
Yep, agreed. The station itself has survived, but the trains have changed. And they're changing again 30 years later. I think this is the conclusion now. I think this is the end of the tape. Yeah, I think it's a pretty... Yeah, I like how, the horrible new trains are being brought in now. But I suppose times have to change. And while some new technology is pretty good, I do quite like the new Eurostars. They're replacing the 373s. I actually prefer the new Eurostar E320s plus 374s. However, sometimes new technology is worse than its predecessors, as evidenced by the Class 800s. Oh, here we are, that's the end of it now. So while advances in technology can be good at times, sometimes technology advancement is just not sometimes technology advancement is just as evidenced by the Class 800s. Anyway, that brings an end to this VHS tape. I hope you all enjoyed watching this with me.
Transport Video Publishing produce and distribute.
Oh, for God's sake. We don't need to see this. Right, so I'll just go forward now. Hold on, I'll just take my camera off here. Okay guys, sorry my camera just cut off just a moment there. The battery died literally just a moment ago. So, yeah, and now I'm filming this with my camera plugged in, so I'll just end the video now. Thank you all so much for watching. I couldn't really find this VHS on the internet when I looked it up. So if you want to buy this, you'll probably have to go to second-hand shops to find it. Or buy it at a model railway exhibition like I did. But anyway, if you can find it, this VHS is definitely worth buying. Because it was a great documentary. It was really, really interesting, and I hope you all agree with me. And, yeah, definitely buy this VHS if you can find it. Very interesting documentary. I hope you all enjoyed watching this I hope you all enjoyed this video. Please like, comment, share this video with your friends, and don't forget to subscribe to me, Trainlover16, if you haven't already. This was a great VHS. I hope you all enjoyed watching this with me. Thank you again so much for watching. I hope you all enjoyed, and I will see you all in the next video. Goodbye!